She had cleaned his mansion for 2 years, raised his twins after their mother died. Now Dorothy sat in handcuffs while her son-in-law testified against her. $50,000 missing. Security footage. Bank records. The evidence was perfect. Too perfect. Then the courtroom doors flew open. "Stop lying about Grandma!" 2 small voices screamed. The 6-year-old twins had walked 6 blocks alone to save her. What they said next would send the real thief to prison and bring a family back together. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Who are you to tell me how to raise my grandchildren? Dorothy Washington's voice trembled as she faced the younger woman across the kitchen counter. "I'm not just anyone. I'm Marcus's girlfriend, and this is his house," Sophia Chen replied, her smile never reaching her eyes. Dorothy had been living in the large house on Maple Avenue in Oak Ridge, Massachusetts for 2 years now. Ever since her daughter Sarah died in that terrible car crash, she had moved in with her son-in-law Marcus Sterling to help care for her twin grandsons, Ethan and Noah. The boys were only 6 years old and needed their grandmother, especially with their father working 16 hours a day at his technology company. Every morning Dorothy woke up at 5 o'clock. Old habits from her 40 years as a nurse never faded. She would prepare breakfast for the twins before they headed to 1st grade at Oak Ridge Elementary School. This morning was no different as she mixed pancake batter in the large kitchen. "Good morning, Grandma," Ethan called out as he ran into the kitchen with his brother close behind. "Did you make blueberry pancakes?" Noah asked, climbing onto a stool at the counter. Dorothy smiled at her grandsons. "Yes, I did. Your favorite." She placed plates in front of them, noticing how Noah had the same smile as her daughter Sarah. The boys ate quickly while Dorothy packed their lunchboxes. Marcus rushed into the kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, we can schedule that meeting for 3 o'clock, he said to someone on the phone. He grabbed a pancake with one hand, nodded at Dorothy, and ruffled the boy's hair before rushing out again. "Daddy never sits for breakfast anymore," Ethan said with a small frown. Dorothy sighed. "He's very busy making his company successful. Now finish eating or you'll be late for school." After dropping the twins at school, Dorothy went to Wilson's Market to buy groceries for dinner. She was choosing tomatoes when someone called her name. "Dorothy! How are you doing?" It was Derek Thompson, Marcus's best friend from college and the chief financial officer at Sterling Innovations. "I'm well, thank you, Derek," she replied with a smile. "Just picking up things for dinner." Derek lowered his voice. "Have you met her yet?" "Met who?" Dorothy asked, confused. "Marcus's new girlfriend. He met her at a business conference last month. Sophia something, Harvard lawyer. He hasn't stopped talking about her." Dorothy's hand froze over the tomatoes. "No, he hasn't mentioned anyone." That evening, as Dorothy helped the twins with their family tree project for school, the front door opened. Marcus walked in with a woman Dorothy had never seen before. "Everyone, I want you to meet someone special," Marcus announced. "This is Sophia Chen." Sophia was beautiful in an intimidating way. Her black hair was cut in a perfect straight line at her shoulders and she wore an expensive-looking suit. She smiled at the twins, but Dorothy noticed the smile didn't reach her eyes. "Hello, boys," Sophia said. "Your father has told me so much about you." The twins looked at her silently, then moved closer to Dorothy. "And you must be the housekeeper," Sophia said, turning to Dorothy. Marcus quickly corrected her. "This is Dorothy, Sarah's mother. She's been helping with the boys since we lost Sarah." "How lovely," Sophia said, her tone suggesting the opposite. "So nice to meet you, Dorothy." During dinner, Sophia dominated the conversation with stories about her Harvard education and important clients. Dorothy noticed how she barely asked the twins any questions about themselves. "The schools in Boston are exceptional," Sophia said, cutting her food into tiny pieces. "Much better than the public schools here in Oak Ridge." "The boys are very happy at their school," Dorothy said quietly. Sophia gave her a cold smile. "I'm sure they are." But Marcus and I were discussing educational options just yesterday. Weren't we, Marcus? 1 week later, Sophia moved into the mansion. She immediately began changing things. The family photos in the living room disappeared, replaced by modern art pieces. The comfortable furniture was swapped for sleek, uncomfortable chairs that the twins couldn't climb on. One evening, Dorothy was looking for the boys and found them alone in their room while loud music and laughter came from downstairs. She found Sophia hosting a party with people in business attire drinking cocktails. "Sophia, the boys haven't had dinner yet," Dorothy said. "I didn't know we were having guests." "Oh, I ordered them pizza," Sophia said dismissively. "They're fine." "These are potential investors Marcus needs to impress. Could you keep the boys upstairs?" Later that night, after putting the twins to bed, Dorothy confronted Sophia in the kitchen. "The boys shouldn't be left alone while you host parties," Dorothy said firmly. "They're only 6 years old." Sophia's friendly facade dropped. "Listen carefully, Dorothy. This is Marcus's house, not yours. Your continued usefulness here depends on understanding your place." "My place is with my grandsons," Dorothy replied. "Your place is whatever Marcus and I decide it is," Sophia snapped back. That night, Dorothy couldn't sleep. She went downstairs for a glass of water and noticed light coming from Marcus's home office. Peeking through the partially open door, she saw Sophia sitting at Marcus's computer, typing quickly. Dorothy quickly stepped back, not wanting to be caught watching. At breakfast the next morning, Dorothy mentioned what she had seen. "Marcus, I noticed Sophia using your office computer very late last night. I thought your business files were private." Marcus frowned. "Sophia is helping me organize some company matters. I gave her permission. I just thought—" "Dorothy," Marcus interrupted, "I know you mean well, but Sophia is part of my life now. She's helping me with the business and with creating a proper home for the boys." "A proper home?" Dorothy asked, hurt in her voice. "You know what I mean," Marcus said, checking his watch. "This place needs a woman's touch." "I'm a woman, Marcus. That's not what I meant, and you know it," he said, his tone growing sharp. "Sophia has connections and understands the world I work in. The boys need that kind of influence." The twins watched this exchange with wide eyes. After Marcus left for work, Ethan hugged Dorothy's legs. "We like our home the way it is, Grandma," he said. "With you in it," Noah added quietly. Over the next week, Dorothy found her belongings had been moved from her comfortable room near the twins to a smaller room in what had been the staff quarters. When she asked Marcus about it, he seemed surprised. "Sophia said you requested the move for more privacy," he said, looking confused. "I never asked for that," Dorothy replied. Marcus sighed. "You know, Dorothy, I think you might be jealous of Sophia's relationship with the family. It's natural. But we all need to adjust." Dorothy retreated to her new, smaller room, fighting back tears after Marcus's harsh words. As she organized her belongings, she noticed a bank statement on the hallway table showing a $10,000 withdrawal she knew nothing about. She picked it up, feeling a chill run down her spine. Something wasn't right in the Sterling mansion, and Dorothy feared that her place in her grandsons' lives wasn't the only thing at risk. Dorothy examined the bank statement closely. $10,000 withdrawn from an account she had never seen before. She placed the paper back on the hallway table exactly as she had found it and walked to her new bedroom, her mind racing with questions. The next morning, Dorothy noticed more bank statements lying around the house. These showed activity in accounts she didn't know existed. She was placing fresh towels in the master bathroom when she saw papers spread across Marcus's dresser. Before she could look closer, her phone buzzed with a text message. "Please come to my office immediately." It was from Marcus. Dorothy made her way to the home office, her heart beating faster with each step. When she opened the door, she found Marcus sitting behind his desk with Sophia standing beside him. Their faces were serious. "Close the door, Dorothy," Marcus said. Dorothy did as she was told. "Is something wrong?" Marcus slid several papers across the desk. "$50,000 is missing from my business account. Can you explain that?" Dorothy's eyes widened. Missing money? I don't know anything about that. Sophia pressed a button on a laptop. This is security footage from 2 nights ago. The screen showed someone in Dorothy's distinctive floral robe using Marcus's computer at 2 in the morning. That's not me, Dorothy said immediately. We have withdrawal receipts with your signature, Marcus continued, pushing more papers toward her. Dorothy picked them up with shaking hands. These signatures, they look like mine, but I didn't sign these. I would never steal from you, Marcus. Sophia reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a small notebook. We found this hidden in your room during cleaning yesterday. The notebook contained account numbers and passwords written in neat handwriting. That's not my handwriting, Dorothy said, her voice rising. Someone is setting me up. Marcus looked at her with cold eyes. Who else would wear your robe, Dorothy? Who else would have access to my office? The evidence is right here. Marcus, please, Dorothy begged. I raised Sarah. I'm helping raise your sons. Why would I steal from you? People change, Sophia said softly, placing her hand on Marcus's shoulder. Money can be tempting, especially at her age, thinking about retirement. Marcus picked up his phone. I'm sorry, Dorothy, but I need to call the police. Ooh, Dorothy felt like the floor was dropping beneath her feet. Marcus, don't do this. Think about the boys. I am thinking about the boys, he snapped. I'm thinking about their future that you tried to steal. Dorothy retreated to her room in shock. When she entered, she noticed drawers left open and items moved around. Someone had searched her belongings. She sat on the edge of her bed, trying to make sense of what was happening. 3 hours later, Dorothy heard car doors slamming in the driveway. She looked out the window and saw 2 police cars parked outside. At the same moment, she heard the school bus stopping nearby. The twins would be home any minute. The doorbell rang and Dorothy heard Marcus greeting someone. Then footsteps approached her room. A knock came at her door. Mrs. Washington? This is Detective Laura Simmons with the Oak Ridge Police Department. Dorothy opened the door to find a woman in her 40s with tired eyes standing next to a tall male officer. Dorothy Washington, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of grand theft, Detective Simmons said. Please turn around and place your hands behind your back. This is a mistake, Dorothy said as the cold metal handcuffs closed around her wrists. You have the right to remain silent. Detective Simmons continued reading her rights as they walked toward the foyer. Just as they reached the front door, it burst open. Ethan and Noah ran in, stopping immediately when they saw their grandmother in handcuffs. "Grandma!" Ethan screamed. "What are they doing to you?" Noah cried. A stern-looking woman Dorothy had never seen before tried to grab the boys. "Come with me, children. Your father asked me to watch you. That's Mrs. Winters, your new nanny," Marcus explained from the doorway, not meeting Dorothy's eyes. "No!" The twins broke free from Mrs. Winters and ran to Dorothy, wrapping their arms around her legs. "Don't take our grandma!" Ethan sobbed. The male officer, whose nameplate read Kendrick, gently tried to separate the boys. "I'm sorry, kids, but we need to take your grandmother with us for a while." "Why? She didn't do anything wrong!" Noah yelled, his small face red with tears. Dorothy wanted to hold them but couldn't with her hands cuffed behind her back. "It's going to be okay, boys. This is just a mistake. Be good for your father. I love you both so much." Officer Kendrick finally managed to pry the twins away, and Dorothy was led outside to the waiting police car. She turned for one last look at the house and saw the twins pressing their faces against the window, tears streaming down their cheeks as Mrs. Winters tried unsuccessfully to pull them away. At the Fairview County Police Station, Dorothy was fingerprinted, photographed, and placed in a small room for questioning. "I'd like to make my phone call," Dorothy said to Detective Simmons. She dialed Margaret Lewis, her closest friend, but only got voicemail. "Margaret, it's Dorothy. I've been arrested. They're saying I stole money from Marcus. Please help me." Hours later, Dorothy sat in a holding cell with 2 other women who ignored her. A different officer approached the bars. "Washington, time to move. You're being transferred to Fairview County Detention Center until your hearing." "When will that be?" Dorothy asked. "Your court-appointed attorney will let you know," the officer replied, opening the cell door. "Let's go." Dorothy was handcuffed again and led to another police car. She was still wearing the same clothes from morning, a simple blue dress that now felt dirty and wrinkled. The ride to the detention center was silent. Dorothy watched through the window as familiar neighborhoods gave way to parts of the county she had never visited. The detention center was a large gray building surrounded by high fences. Inside, she went through another processing procedure. More forms, more questions, a medical screening, and finally, she was given an orange jumpsuit to change into. "Personal items go in this bag," an officer instructed. "You can keep your wedding ring and one religious medal if you have one." Dorothy carefully placed her watch, earrings, and the small locket containing Sarah's picture into the plastic bag. She was allowed to keep only her wedding ring, though she had been a widow for 10 years. A female guard led her down a long hallway of cells. "Washington, this is you. Bunk on the right." The cell contained 2 metal beds, a toilet, and a small sink. A woman with dark hair sat on the left bunk, watching Dorothy with curious eyes. "Lights out in 20 minutes, the guard said before walking away. Dorothy sat on the thin mattress, still trying to process how her life had changed so dramatically in one day. She stared at the ceiling, wondering about the twins and how they were handling this trauma. From the other bunk, the woman spoke. "Let me guess. Rich family members set you up? Welcome to the club, Grandma." Dorothy turned her head. "Who are you?" "Brenda Garcia. And judging by that look on your face, I'm right, aren't I? Someone with money made sure you'd take the fall for something you didn't do." "My son-in-law thinks I stole $50,000 from him," Dorothy said, her voice barely above a whisper. Brenda laughed without humor. "Amateur. My daughter-in-law framed me for stealing family heirlooms worth twice that. Rich people always think they can buy whatever version of the truth works best for them." For the first time since her arrest, Dorothy felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe she wasn't alone in this nightmare after all. "So what's your story?" Dorothy asked Brenda as they sat in the detention center's cafeteria the next morning. The room was filled with women in orange jumpsuits, the noise of plastic trays and muted conversations creating a constant hum. "6 months for assault," Brenda said, poking at something that claimed to be scrambled eggs. "I slapped my daughter-in-law when I found out she sold my mother's jewelry and blamed me. Not my proudest moment." Dorothy pushed her own tray away. "I still can't believe this is happening. I've never even had a parking ticket." "First days are the worst," Brenda said. "Stick with me. I'll show you how things work in here." Brenda explained the unwritten rules of Fairview County Detention Center, which guards were fair, which tables belonged to which groups, and how to trade commissary items for small favors. "The trick is to keep your head down but not look weak," Brenda advised, "and find something to keep your mind busy." A woman with short gray hair and colorful tattoos on her arms approached their table. "Garcia, who's your friend?" "This is Dorothy Washington, Janet. Fresh meat, grandmother type, accused of stealing from rich family. Dorothy, meet Janet Kingsley, former paralegal, current troublemaker." Janet sat down. "Political protest. 30 days for chaining myself to a corporate headquarters door." She studied Dorothy. "Family theft case, huh? Public defender?" Dorothy nodded. "I'm meeting with someone named Tom Murphy today." Janet groaned. "Murphy's burned out, takes too many cases, pushes everyone to plead guilty regardless of innocence." She leaned forward. "Listen, I worked in the legal system for 20 years. I can help you understand what's happening." Before Dorothy could respond, a guard called her name. "Washington!" Visitor in Room B. Room B was small with a metal table bolted to the floor. A man in a wrinkled suit sat there, his bloodshot eyes scanning papers in a folder. "Mrs. Washington?" "Tom Murphy, your court-appointed attorney." He didn't stand or offer to shake hands. Dorothy sat across from him. Thank you for coming. I need to explain. Save time, Murphy interrupted. I've reviewed your case. Evidence looks solid. Security footage, bank records, your signature on withdrawals. He shuffled papers. First offense, senior citizen. If you plead guilty, I can probably get probation instead of jail time. But I'm innocent, Dorothy insisted. Someone set me up. It might be Marcus's girlfriend, Sophia Chen. Murphy sighed. Everyone's innocent in here, Mrs. Washington. But the DA has your signature on withdrawal slips, security footage of you at the computer, and a notebook with account numbers in your handwriting. That's not my handwriting. Can you prove it? Murphy checked his watch. Look, I have 4 other clients to see today. The preliminary hearing is in 3 weeks. Think about the plea deal. Probation means you go home. After Murphy left, Dorothy returned to the common area where Janet was waiting. Let me guess, Janet said. He spent 10 minutes with you, suggested you plead guilty and checked his watch at least 3 times. Dorothy nodded, fighting tears. Don't worry, Janet said. I'll help you prepare for your hearing. First, we need to document everything you remember about the evidence against you. Meanwhile, at Oak Ridge Elementary School, the twins sat silently at their desks during art class. Their teacher, Rachel Patterson, watched with concern as they hunched over their drawings, isolated from other children. Ethan, Noah, Ms. Patterson said gently, kneeling between their desks. Would you like to share what you're drawing? Ethan turned his paper so she could see a picture of a house with a woman in handcuffs being taken away. Noah's drawing showed the same scene from a different angle, with 2 small figures at a window. That's our grandma, Noah said quietly. The police took her away. She didn't do anything wrong, Ethan added. Ms. Patterson's heart sank. I didn't know. That must have been very scary for you. After class, Ms. Patterson called the Sterling residence. A woman answered on the 3rd ring. Sterling residence, this is Sophia Chen speaking. Hello, Miss Chen. This is Rachel Patterson, Ethan and Noah's teacher. I'm concerned about the boys. They've become withdrawn and their artwork today revealed they're distressed about their grandmother's situation. The boys are simply adjusting to changes at home, Sophia replied smoothly. Their grandmother had some legal issues that required her removal from the household. I assure you they're receiving excellent care from their new nanny. Children often need special support during family disruptions, Ms. Patterson persisted. Perhaps I could speak with Mr. Sterling? He's extremely busy right now. I'll pass along your concerns, but I assure you the situation is under control. After school, the twins returned to a house that no longer felt like home. Their bedroom had been moved to a smaller room down the hall from where they'd always slept. The larger space was now Sophia's yoga studio. Put your backpacks away and start your homework, Mrs. Winters instructed. Miss Chen wants quiet when she returns from her meeting. When the stern nanny left to prepare their snacks, Ethan pulled something from his backpack, the iPad their father had given them for educational games. Did you figure it out? Noah whispered. Ethan nodded. I watched a video that showed how to make recordings. We can use this to help Grandma. That evening, they hid the iPad under a couch cushion in the living room when they heard Sophia on the phone. They pretended to read books nearby. The old lady won't be a problem anymore, Sophia was saying. The offshore accounts are ready. Yes, I'll begin moving the larger sums once the preliminary hearing passes. No one suspects anything. The twins looked at each other with wide eyes. Back at the detention center, Dorothy was learning to navigate her new reality. Brenda introduced her to the daily routine. When to shower, how to make her bed to pass inspection, which work assignments were better than others. I got assigned to the laundry, Dorothy told Janet during recreation time. Good. Better than kitchen duty, Janet replied. Now, let's work on your case. Tell me exactly what happened the day you were arrested. Dorothy recounted everything. The bank statements she'd found, the security footage, the notebook with account numbers. "We need to establish your whereabouts during those transactions," Janet said, "and we need to challenge that handwriting. Murphy won't do it, but we can prepare the arguments for him." That night, Dorothy learned how to request a phone call to her grandsons. The next morning, she waited anxiously by the phones during her designated time. "I'm sorry," the officer supervising the calls said. "The Guardian has declined the call." "But they're my grandsons," Dorothy protested. "The legal guardian has to approve calls to minors," the officer explained. "Mr. Sterling has denied permission." Dorothy returned to her cell, devastated. "Sophia must have intercepted my request," she told Brenda. "She's keeping me from talking to the boys." "Rich people think they own the truth," Brenda said, "but truth has a way of coming out. My nephew Carlos is visiting tomorrow. He works in computers. Maybe he can give you some ideas about that security footage they have." The next day, Dorothy met Carlos Garcia, a young man with intelligent eyes who listened carefully to her story. "Security footage can be altered," Carlos explained. "Timestamps, identities, it's not that difficult if you know what you're doing. And electronic signatures are even easier to fake." "But how can I prove that?" Dorothy asked. "That's the hard part," Carlos admitted. "But timestamps leave digital trails. If your son-in-law's company has good IT security, there might be logs showing when the files were accessed or modified." As Dorothy walked back to her cell that night, she felt a small spark of hope. With Janet helping her understand the legal process, Brenda showing her how to survive detention, and now Carlos explaining how the evidence might have been manipulated, she was no longer alone. Her thoughts turned to the twins. Were they okay? Did they believe she had stolen the money? Did they think she had abandoned them? As Dorothy lay on her thin mattress that night, the facility phone rang unexpectedly. The night guard answered, then approached Dorothy's cell. "Washington. Phone call. Make it quick. It's after hours." Dorothy rushed to the phone. "Hello? Dorothy, it's Derek Thompson, Marcus's CFO. I've been checking those transaction records myself. Something doesn't add up about the timing of the transfers. I think someone might have set you up." Dorothy gripped the detention center phone tightly. "Derek, are you sure?" "I've been reviewing the financial records," Derek said. "The transactions supposedly made by you happened at 2 in the morning on Tuesday and Thursday. But I checked our security system logs. They show you were in your bedroom during those times." "That's what I've been saying." Dorothy's voice rose with hope. "Someone is framing me." "I need to look deeper into this," Derek continued. "I've tried talking to Marcus, but he's been difficult to reach lately. Sophia seems to always be around when I call." "Can you visit me?" Dorothy asked. "I need to understand exactly what evidence they have." "I'll come tomorrow," Derek promised. The next day, Dorothy sat across from Derek Thompson in the detention center's visiting room. His suit was wrinkled and dark circles hung under his eyes. "I brought copies of the transaction records," Derek said, sliding papers across the table. "Look at the timestamps." Dorothy examined the documents. 2:17 in the morning on both days. I'm always asleep by 10. "Exactly," Derek nodded. "And there's something else odd. These transfers were made to an account in your maiden name, but the account was only opened 3 months ago." "I never opened that account," Dorothy insisted. "I believe you," Derek said. "But Marcus it's like he's under a spell. Whenever I try to discuss these inconsistencies, Sophia appears and changes the subject." As Dorothy returned to her cell, Janet was waiting with a legal pad. "Good visit?" "Derek found evidence that might help me." Dorothy explained the timestamp discrepancies. "Perfect," Janet said. "We need to create a detailed timeline of your activities. Every minute we can account for is another crack in their case." They spent the afternoon working on the timeline, with Dorothy recalling her daily routine at the Sterling mansion. "I always make the boys breakfast at 6:30, Dorothy said. "Then I help them dress for school by 7:15. "And at night?" Janet asked. "I read to the twins until 8:30. Then I make myself tea and watch the news until 10. I've never used Marcus's computer, especially not at 2 in the morning. Meanwhile, at Oak Ridge Elementary, Noah Sterling sat frozen at his desk while other children played during recess. When a classmate dropped a book with a loud bang, Noah screamed and dove under his desk, shaking uncontrollably. Ms. Patterson rushed to his side. "Noah, it's okay. It was just a book falling." Noah couldn't stop trembling. "The police! They're coming back! They'll take everyone away!" Ms. Patterson gently helped him to the nurse's office, then called the school counselor. "Dr. Morales, I need your help with the Sterling twins," she explained. "Noah just had what looks like a panic attack, and both boys have been withdrawn for weeks." Later that day, Dr. Andrea Morales sat with the twins in her office. Child-sized furniture and colorful art supplies filled the bright space. "I like your drawings," Dr. Morales said, looking at the papers in front of the boys. "Can you tell me about them?" Ethan pointed to his picture. "This is Dad's girlfriend. She wears Grandma's flower robe sometimes at night." "And what does she do in Grandma's robe?" Dr. Morales asked casually. "She goes into Dad's office when he's sleeping," Noah said quietly. "We saw her typing on his computer." "Did you tell your dad about this?" Dr. Morales asked. Both boys shook their heads. "She told us no one would believe us because we're just kids," Ethan explained. At the detention center, Dorothy received another visitor. Tom Murphy looked different today. His suit was pressed and he carried a thick folder of documents. "Mrs. Washington," he said, sitting down, "I've reconsidered your case after receiving a formal complaint about inadequate representation." Dorothy exchanged a smile with Janet, who was sitting beside her. The complaint had been Janet's idea. "I've reviewed the evidence more carefully," Murphy continued. "There are problems with the prosecution's case. The signatures on these withdrawal slips—" He pushed several papers toward Dorothy. "Can you explain the differences you see from your actual signature?" Dorothy studied the documents. "The Y in my signature always loops below the line. These don't loop at all. And I always put a small dot after my signature, a habit from my nursing days. These signatures don't have that." Murphy nodded, taking notes. "Good. Very specific differences that someone copying your signature might not know about." As they worked, Brenda's nephew Carlos visited again, bringing printouts about digital security. "Security footage can be edited," Carlos explained, "especially if the person has access to the system. Someone could take footage of you walking around in your robe from one night and splice it into footage from another night." "Could you prove that?" Murphy asked, suddenly interested. "Maybe," Carlos said. "Digital files leave artifacts when they're modified. If I could examine the original files." Back at the Sterling mansion, Marcus sat alone in his home office reviewing company reports. He frowned at a series of transactions he didn't recognize. Nearly $500,000 had moved through several accounts in the past 2 months. The door opened, and Sophia entered wearing yoga clothes. "Working late again, honey? You should rest." "Did you know about these transactions?" Marcus asked, pointing to his screen. Sophia glanced at the monitor, her smile never faltering. "Those are the expansions we discussed for the Seattle office. Remember?" "We never discussed Seattle," Marcus said slowly. Sophia laughed lightly. "Of course we did. Last month over dinner at Giovanni's. You must be working too hard if you're forgetting our conversations." She massaged his shoulders, but Marcus noticed how quickly she changed the subject. The next morning, Marcus called Derek to his office at Sterling Innovations. "Something strange is happening with our finances," Marcus said. "There are transfers I never authorized." Derek took a deep breath. "Marcus, I've been trying to tell you this for weeks. These irregularities started shortly after Sophia came into your life." "What are you implying?" Marcus asked, his voice tight. "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. The missing money goes beyond what Dorothy was accused of taking. Nearly $500,000 has been moved through accounts I didn't even know existed. Do you have proof it's connected to Sophia? Derek hesitated. Not concrete proof, no. But the timing. Marcus rubbed his temples. The twins have been acting strange too. Their teacher called yesterday about Noah having some kind of panic attack at school. Marcus, Derek said carefully, have you considered that Dorothy might be innocent? Back at Oak Ridge Elementary, the twins were showing Dr. Morales something on their iPad. We made recordings, Ethan explained proudly, like real detectives. Dr. Morales listened to the audio file. Sophia's voice came through clearly. Once I move the final amounts, we can deal with any loose ends. The old lady won't be a problem from prison. When did you record this? Dr. Morales asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Last night, Noah said. She was on the phone in the kitchen. We hid the iPad under the table. Dr. Morales looked at the twins with concern. You've been very brave, but I need to make sure you're safe. I'm going to call someone who can help us. After the boys left, Dr. Morales contacted Child Protective Services. That evening, Marcus returned home earlier than usual. He found Sophia in his office again, quickly closing laptop screens when he entered. You're home early, she said, sounding surprised. I wanted to see the boys before bedtime, Marcus replied, watching her carefully. What are you working on? Just some emails, Sophia said. Nothing important. Marcus noticed a flash of something on the screen before it closed. A travel website. I was thinking, he said casually, maybe the charges against Dorothy were filed too quickly. Derek found some inconsistencies in the evidence. Sophia's face hardened for a split second before her smile returned. Marcus, we've been through this. The evidence is clear. She betrayed your trust. Still, maybe she could come home until the trial. For the boys' sake. Sophia's reaction was immediate and intense. Absolutely not. After what she did, I can't believe you'd even suggest bringing a thief back into our home. Our home? Marcus asked quietly. You know what I mean, Sophia backtracked. I'm just thinking of you and the boys. If you bring her back, I'll have to leave. I can't stay in a house with someone who would steal from the man I love. As Marcus looked at the woman he thought he knew, small doubts began to grow into larger questions. Who exactly had he invited into his home and his children's lives? In her cell that night, Dorothy received another unexpected delivery. An envelope with no return address. Inside were printed screenshots of emails between Sophia and someone named Alex, discussing how to finish the transfers before the old lady's hearing. Dorothy's hands trembled as she showed the papers to Janet. Who would send these? Someone at Sterling Innovations is on your side, Janet said, and they're giving you exactly what you need. Dorothy clutched the printed emails, her hand shaking. This is proof that Sophia is behind everything. It's certainly suspicious, Janet agreed, but we need to be strategic about how we use this. Tom Murphy arrived early the next morning, looking more alert than Dorothy had ever seen him. We have your preliminary hearing today. I've been working all night on our strategy. Someone sent me these, Dorothy said, showing him the email screenshots. Murphy examined them closely. These are helpful, but we can't use anonymous evidence in court without establishing its source. Let's focus on the timestamp discrepancies and signature inconsistencies first. 2 hours later, Dorothy entered the Fairview County Courthouse. Her orange jumpsuit had been replaced with the navy dress Janet had asked Brenda to bring from her home. The courtroom was smaller than Dorothy expected, with wooden benches and fluorescent lighting that buzzed overhead. All rise for the Honorable Judge William Harmon, the bailiff announced. As everyone stood, Dorothy saw Marcus entering the courtroom. Their eyes met briefly before he looked away. He sat in the back row, alone. District Attorney Victoria Reynolds approached the podium first. She was a tall woman with sharp features and a crisp gray suit. Your Honor, The state has clear evidence that Dorothy Washington embezzled $50,000 from her employer, Marcus Sterling. We have security footage showing Mrs. Washington accessing Mr. Sterling's computer at 2:17 in the morning on 2 separate occasions. We have bank records showing transfers to an account in her maiden name, and we have withdrawal receipts bearing her signature. Judge Harmon nodded. Mr. Murphy, your response? Tom Murphy stood straightening his tie. Your Honor, we challenge the authenticity of this evidence. The security footage timestamps conflict with other security logs showing Mrs. Washington in her bedroom during those exact times. The signatures on the withdrawal slips contain discrepancies inconsistent with Mrs. Washington's actual signature. He approached the bench with documents. These are Mrs. Washington's actual signatures from medical forms compared with the signatures on the withdrawal slips. Note the differences in the letter Y and the absence of her characteristic dot after the signature. District Attorney Reynolds countered, People's signatures vary, Your Honor. This is hardly conclusive. Additionally, Murphy continued undeterred, the account in question was opened only 3 months ago, when Mrs. Washington has lived in Mr. Sterling's home for 2 years. If she intended to steal, why wait so long? The arguments continued for nearly an hour. To Dorothy's surprise, Derek Thompson was called to testify about the security system logs. Our home system creates 2 records, Derek explained. The video footage, but also a motion detection log that records which rooms have activity. The logs show Mrs. Washington was in her bedroom at the exact moments the computer was accessed. Judge Harmon studied the evidence carefully. While there are questions about the strength of the evidence, this case will proceed to trial. However, I am reducing bail to $20,000, given the defendant's lack of criminal history and the inconsistencies noted. Derek immediately stepped forward to pay the bail. By late afternoon, Dorothy walked out of the detention center breathing fresh air as a free woman for the first time in weeks. You'll stay with me until this is sorted out, Derek said as they drove away. I have a guest house you can use. Dorothy stared out the window, watching the familiar streets of Oak Ridge pass by. Have you seen the twins? Derek nodded. From a distance. The court order prevents you from contacting them directly until after the trial. Derek's home was a modest colonial on a quiet street in Cambridge. The guest house behind the main building was small but comfortable, with a kitchenette and a living area filled with morning sunlight. It's not much, Derek said, but it's private. It's perfect, Dorothy whispered, overwhelmed by the simple pleasure of a space without locks and guards. Meanwhile, at Sterling Innovations headquarters, Marcus sat in his office reviewing financial reports with growing concern. The irregularities went far beyond the $50,000 Dorothy allegedly stole. Nearly $500,000 had moved through a complex series of transactions since Sophia had entered his life. He called Derek into his office. I need to know exactly what's happening with these accounts. Derek closed the door. Marcus, I've been trying to tell you for weeks. These transfers began shortly after Sophia moved in. Are you suggesting she's stealing from me? Marcus asked, his voice tight. I don't have definitive proof of who's responsible, Derek admitted, but the timing is suspicious. And there's something else you should know. I paid Dorothy's bail. She's staying at my guest house. Marcus stared at his oldest friend. You believe she's innocent? I do, Derek said firmly, and deep down, I think you do too. At Oak Ridge Elementary, Dr. Morales had arranged a meeting with Child Protective Services Officer Tanya Williams. They sat in Dr. Morales' office with the twins' iPad between them. Listen to this, Dr. Morales said, playing one of the recordings. Sophia's voice came through clearly. The accounts are almost emptied. Once the old lady is convicted, we can move the big money and disappear. Tanya Williams frowned. Have you verified this is actually Miss Chen's voice? The twins recorded it in their home, Dr. Morales explained. They've been gathering evidence for weeks. Smart kids, Williams said. I'll need to conduct a home visit. If there's financial exploitation happening, the children could be at risk. That evening, Marcus returned home early, finding the twins working on homework under Mrs. Winter's stern supervision. "Dad!" Ethan jumped up. "You're home before dinner." Marcus hugged his sons tightly. "I missed you guys. How about we play a game before dinner?" "Miss Chen said they need to finish their work first," Mrs. Winters interjected. "I think homework can wait," Marcus said firmly. "Where is Sophia?" "In your office," Noah whispered. "She's always in there when you're not home." Marcus found Sophia at his computer again. She quickly closed several windows when he entered. "Marcus, you surprised me," she said, standing to kiss him. "What were you working on?" He asked casually. "Just some emails to the charity board," Sophia replied smoothly. "Nothing important." Marcus noticed a flash of a banking website before it disappeared. "I've been thinking about Dorothy." Sophia's smile faltered slightly. "What about her?" "Her preliminary hearing was today. The judge reduced her bail." "That's unfortunate," Sophia said. "The evidence seemed so clear." "Maybe not," Marcus suggested. "There are inconsistencies that raise questions. Derek paid her bail." "Derek? Your CFO?" Sophia's voice sharpened. "Why would he do that?" "He believes she's innocent. And you? What do you believe?" Sophia's eyes narrowed. "I'm not sure anymore," Marcus admitted. "Maybe we acted too quickly." Sophia placed her hand on his arm. "Marcus, don't let guilt cloud your judgment. She betrayed your trust. The evidence is clear. Still, for the boys' sake, maybe Dorothy could come home until the trial." Sophia's reaction was immediate and intense. "Absolutely not! After what she did, I won't stay in the same house with a thief." Her vehemence surprised Marcus. As they argued, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Winters appeared in the doorway. "There's a Miss Williams from Child Protective Services here for an unannounced home visit." Tanya Williams conducted a thorough inspection of the home, observing interactions between the twins, Marcus and Sophia. She noted how the boys stayed physically close to their father but maintained distance from Sophia. "Mr. Sterling, could I speak with the children alone for a few minutes?" Williams asked. In the privacy of their bedroom, the twins showed Williams their iPad. "We have more recordings," Ethan said proudly. Williams listened carefully, her expression growing more concerned with each recording. After she left, Marcus sat in his home office deep in thought. His phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Found something important. Security camera in your home office shows someone wearing Dorothy's robe accessing your computer at night. Need to review the footage together. Not at your house." That night, Marcus installed a small hidden camera behind books on his office shelf. He told Sophia he needed to return to the office to handle an emergency. Instead, he drove to Derek's house. Together, they reviewed weeks of security footage from the Sterling mansion. "There," Derek pointed at the screen. 2:17 in the morning, Tuesday. Someone in Dorothy's floral robe is using your computer." "Can we see the face?" Marcus asked. Derek adjusted the footage. "It's dark, but watch when she turns toward the door." The figure turned, and Marcus saw Sophia's face clearly illuminated by the computer screen. "I've been such a fool," Marcus whispered. Derek placed a hand on his shoulder. "You want to see Dorothy?" Dorothy was reading in the guest house when there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find Marcus standing there, his face a mask of regret. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "I should have trusted you." Dorothy stared at Marcus, her emotions a mix of relief and lingering hurt. She stepped back, allowing him to enter the guest house. "Would you like some tea?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Dorothy, I saw the footage," Marcus said, sitting down at the small kitchen table. "It was Sophia wearing your robe, using my computer." "You were telling the truth all along." Dorothy poured hot water into 2 mugs before joining him. "I would never steal from you, Marcus. You and the boys are my family." "I know that now," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "I let her manipulate me. I chose a stranger over family." They talked for over an hour. Marcus explained what they had discovered in the security footage and the financial irregularities at Sterling Innovations. Dorothy shared her experiences in detention and the help she received from Janet and Brenda. "What happens now?" Dorothy asked. "We need to build an airtight case," Marcus replied. "Derek and I think it's best if Sophia doesn't know we're on to her yet. We need to catch her in the act." "You're going back to her?" Dorothy asked, surprised. "Just for a few days," Marcus explained. "I've hidden a camera in my office. We need to document everything she does." The next morning, Marcus met with private investigator Olivia Ramirez at a small coffee shop far from his usual haunts. She was a former FBI forensic accountant with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Mr. Sterling," Olivia said, reviewing the files he provided. "These transfers show a sophisticated pattern. Someone has been moving money through several accounts to hide the trail." "Can you trace where it's going?" Marcus asked. "Given enough time, yes. The transfers are heading toward offshore accounts, but they leave digital footprints." She looked up from the documents. "You said this person still has access to your accounts?" "Yes. I haven't changed any passwords or security protocols. I want to catch her in the act." "Risky," Olivia commented, "but effective. I'll need access to monitor your accounts in real time." Meanwhile, Dorothy and Tom Murphy worked at Derek's kitchen table preparing her defense strategy. Janet had been released from detention and immediately offered her help, bringing legal pads and a laptop. "We need character witnesses," Janet said, organizing papers into neat piles. "People who can testify to your honesty and financial responsibility." "My former nursing colleagues would help," Dorothy suggested, "and Margaret Lewis, my closest friend." Murphy nodded. "Good. Now that Marcus is supporting your case, we can also use him as a witness." "I still can't believe this is happening," Dorothy said quietly. "All because Sophia wanted money." "It's not just money," Janet replied. "I've been researching Sophia Chen. She's changed her name twice before. There are complaints against her in California and New York, all from wealthy men." Murphy leaned forward. "You found a pattern of similar behavior?" "That's exactly what we need." At Oak Ridge Elementary, the twins were on a mission of their own. During recess, Ethan pulled Noah behind the big oak tree in the schoolyard. "I found something last night," Ethan whispered, looking around to make sure no one could hear them. "Sophia has a second phone. She keeps it in her yoga bag." Noah's eyes widened. "Did you see what's on it?" "No, but I can try to check it tonight when she's in the shower." That evening, while Sophia was showering, the twins crept into the master bedroom. Ethan carefully unzipped the yoga bag while Noah kept watch at the door. "Hurry!" Noah whispered urgently. Ethan found the phone hidden in a side pocket. He turned it on, relieved it didn't require a password. Quickly, he opened the text messages. "Take pictures," Noah urged. Using their iPad, they photographed several text conversations. One message caught Ethan's eye. "Final transfer tomorrow. Tickets confirmed. Exit strategy ready." They heard the shower turn off and quickly returned the phone, slipping out of the room just as the bathroom door opened. The next day at school, they showed their teacher what they'd found. "Miss Patterson, look," Ethan said, showing her the iPad. "We took pictures of Sophia's secret phone." Rachel Patterson studied the images with growing concern. "Boys, this is very important. May I share this with Dr. Morales?" Later that afternoon, Child Protective Services Officer Tanya Williams conducted a follow-up visit to the Sterling home. She observed Sophia interacting with the twins, noting her forced smiles and their obvious discomfort. "The children seem anxious in Ms. Chen's presence," Williams noted in her report after leaving. At Sterling Innovations, Marcus worked with Olivia Ramirez and Derek to monitor his accounts. "I've placed security alerts on all the major accounts," Olivia explained. "If anyone attempts access, we'll know immediately." "What about the trust fund for the boys?" Marcus asked. "It contains over $1 million. That's likely her main target," Olivia said. "I've placed a special flag on it. The system will appear to allow access, but no actual transfers can occur. Derek pointed to his computer screen. Look at this. Someone attempted to access your personal savings account 10 minutes ago. From where? Marcus asked. The IP address traces to your home network, Derek replied. Marcus checked his watch. I should get back. Act normal, remember? When Marcus arrived home, he found Sophia in the kitchen preparing dinner, looking perfectly relaxed. You're home early, she said, kissing his cheek. I'm making that pasta you love. Sounds great, Marcus replied, forcing a smile. Where are the boys? Homework with Mrs. Winters. How was your day? Interesting, Marcus said carefully. The bank called about some unusual activity on our accounts. He watched Sophia's reaction closely. A flash of concern crossed her face before she composed herself. What kind of activity? She asked casually. Someone trying to access the boys' education trust. Nothing to worry about. The bank blocked it. Sophia turned back to the stove. That's good. So much financial fraud these days. That night, after Sophia fell asleep, Marcus slipped out of bed and checked the hidden camera in his office. The footage showed Sophia entering the office at midnight, using his computer for nearly an hour, making several phone calls in a hushed voice. He copied the footage to a secure drive and sent it to Olivia and Tom Murphy. The next morning, Murphy called Dorothy with news. We have enough to file for complete dismissal of charges, he said. Marcus has provided definitive proof that Sophia was the one accessing his accounts. When will this nightmare be over? Dorothy asked. Your trial is scheduled for Monday, Murphy replied. But with this new evidence, I'm confident the charges will be dropped before then. At Derek's house, Dorothy received a surprise visit from Janet and Brenda, who had been released from detention. We're your support team, Brenda announced, carrying a bag of groceries. Janet's doing your legal stuff and I'm handling moral support. I can't thank you both enough, Dorothy said, emotion thick in her voice. Save the thanks for when this is over, Janet said. We've got work to do. While the adults prepared for Monday's court date, the twins continued their secret detective work. During dinner, Noah accidentally spilled milk on Sophia's designer blouse. I'm so sorry, he cried as she jumped up. While Sophia went to change, Ethan quickly grabbed her purse and found a confirmation email for one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands. Noah photographed it with the iPad before they returned the purse. Good work, Ethan whispered to his brother. On Sunday night, Olivia called Marcus with an urgent update. She's making her move, Olivia said. There's activity on your home network attempting to access the twins' trust fund again. I'm at Derek's reviewing evidence, Marcus replied. Can you monitor it? We're tracking every keystroke, Olivia confirmed. I have a team in a surveillance van down the street from your house. Marcus called Detective Simmons, the same officer who had arrested Dorothy. Detective, we have evidence of ongoing financial fraud at my residence, he explained. The person responsible is attempting to steal over $1 million as we speak. The same person who framed Mrs. Washington? Detective Simmons asked. Yes. We have video evidence, financial records, and she's in the act right now. We'll need a warrant, Simmons said. Give me 30 minutes. In the Sterling mansion, Sophia sat at Marcus's computer, frustrated as her attempts to transfer the money from the twins' trust fund failed repeatedly. She didn't know that every move she made was being recorded and monitored in real time by Marcus, Derek, and Olivia from their surveillance van. Why isn't this working? She muttered, trying another approach to override the security measures. She made a call on her second phone. Alex, there's a problem. The trust fund is locked somehow. We need to move up our timeline. Book the earlier flight. I'll bring what I have and meet you tomorrow. She began packing a small suitcase, including jewelry she'd taken from Marcus's family collection and cash she'd been stockpiling. In the surveillance van, Olivia turned to Marcus. She's planning to run tomorrow. The court date is tomorrow, Marcus said. Dorothy's trial. Perfect timing, Derek suggested. What better place to arrest Sophia than in the courthouse where Dorothy was going to be tried for Sophia's crimes? Marcus nodded. Let's make sure everyone is ready. The twins, Dorothy, all our evidence. Tomorrow ends this nightmare once and for all." The night before Dorothy's trial stretched endlessly. In the surveillance van, Marcus checked his watch again, 11:30 at night. The screens showed Sophia still attempting to access the twins' trust fund. "She's getting desperate," Olivia noted, pointing to the repeated failed login attempts. "She's tried 15 different password combinations in the last hour." "What about the emergency motion?" Marcus asked Derek, who was on the phone with Tom Murphy. Derek covered the phone. "Murphy's filing it now. He's sending all our evidence to the judge and the district attorney." On the screen, they watched as Sophia finally gave up on the computer, slamming her fist on the desk in frustration. "She's moving to Plan B," Olivia said quietly. Inside the Sterling mansion, Sophia stormed from the office to the bedroom. She pulled a suitcase from the closet and began filling it with expensive clothes, jewelry, and the cash she had hidden in various places around the room. "Stupid security systems," she muttered, checking her watch. 11:45, still time to get out before morning. In the twins' bedroom, Ethan and Noah lay awake, pretending to sleep. They had packed their backpacks earlier with their iPad and all the evidence they had collected. "What time is it?" Noah whispered. Ethan checked the clock beside his bed. "Almost midnight. We need to wake up at 5 o'clock to meet Miss Patterson." "I'm scared," Noah admitted. "Me too," Ethan said, reaching across the space between their beds to hold his brother's hand. "But we have to help Grandma." Earlier that evening, Ethan had made a secret call to their teacher using the phone hidden in his teddy bear. "Miss Patterson?" "It's Ethan Sterling." "Ethan? How are you calling me?" Rachel Patterson had asked, surprised. "Dad gave us an emergency phone. We need your help. Tomorrow is Grandma's trial. We have evidence that can help her, but we need to get to the courthouse." "Ethan, this is very serious. Does your father know about this?" "Yes, but he doesn't know we're planning to go to court. He thinks we're staying with Mrs. Winters. Please, Miss Patterson, we need to be there." After a long pause, Miss Patterson had agreed. "I'll pick you up at 5:30 tomorrow morning at the end of your driveway, but I'm calling your father right after to make sure this is okay." Now, as midnight approached, the twins set their alarm for 5 o'clock and tried to sleep, their backpacks hidden under their beds. In Derek's guest house, Dorothy sat at the small kitchen table with Janet and Brenda. Her navy dress for court hung on the closet door. "Try to eat something," Janet urged, pushing a plate of sandwiches toward Dorothy. "I can't," Dorothy replied. "My stomach is in knots." "You need strength for tomorrow," Brenda insisted. "Court days are long." "I still can't believe this is happening," Dorothy said. "After everything, I might actually be free tomorrow." Janet reviewed their preparation notes one last time. "Murphy says the emergency motion should work, but be ready for anything. The judge might want to hear statements even if the charges are dropped." Dorothy nodded, touching the locket with Sarah's picture that had been returned to her after her release from detention. "I just want to see the boys." "You will," Brenda promised. "Soon." At the district attorney's office, Victoria Reynolds worked late, reviewing the emergency motion and new evidence that had arrived less than an hour ago. The security footage clearly showed Sophia Chen wearing Dorothy's robe, accessing Marcus Sterling's computer at the exact times of the fraudulent transfers. "This changes everything," she muttered, picking up her phone to call Judge Harmon at home. In his chambers, Judge William Harmon reviewed the emergency filing on his laptop while talking to Reynolds. "This evidence is compelling," he agreed, "but I want to hear statements in open court. Have Mrs. Washington and her attorney present as scheduled. We'll address the motion first thing." Tom Murphy sat in his home office surrounded by papers making final preparations. For the first time in years, he felt truly invested in a case. Dorothy Washington's situation had reminded him why he became a lawyer, to protect the innocent. His phone rang. It was Detective Simmons. "We have the warrant for Sophia Chen's arrest," she said. "We can execute it tonight or wait until morning at the courthouse." "Morning would be better," Murphy advised. We want her arrested in public where she can't claim any impropriety, and we need her there when the judge dismisses Dorothy's charges." Back at the Sterling mansion, Sophia checked on the twins, opening their door quietly. Both boys lay still with their eyes closed, breathing evenly. "Good," she whispered. "Sleep tight, little brats." Once she left, Ethan opened one eye and reached for the phone under his pillow. He sent a text to his father. "She checked on us. Packing suitcase now." In the surveillance van, Marcus read the text and showed it to Derek and Olivia. "She's getting ready to run," Marcus said. "We need to make sure she can't leave before morning." "I've got people watching all exits," Olivia assured him. "And I've flagged her passport with TSA. She won't get far." Derek checked his watch. "Midnight. In just a few hours this will all be over." "I should have trusted Dorothy from the beginning," Marcus said quietly. "How could I have been so blind?" "Sophia is a professional con artist," Derek reminded him. "She's done this before." "Never again," Marcus vowed. "After tomorrow, Dorothy comes home where she belongs." At Derek's guest house, Dorothy finally lay down to rest, though sleep seemed impossible. She thought about the twins and how much they must have changed in the weeks she'd been away. She wondered if they still believed in her. "Please let tomorrow bring the truth to light," she whispered into the darkness. In her bedroom at the Sterling mansion, Sophia made one final attempt to access emergency cash through her phone banking app. The transactions were blocked. "Damn it!" she hissed. She began pacing, her mind racing through options. The offshore accounts contained most of her previous thefts, but getting out of the country would be difficult without access to more funds. She checked the confirmation for her morning flight to the Cayman Islands. 6:30 departure. She would need to leave for the airport by 4:30 at the latest. "Just a few more hours," she told herself. "Then this is all behind me." What Sophia didn't know was that 4 separate groups were preparing to converge at the courthouse in the morning, each with evidence that would shatter her carefully constructed schemes. In the twins' room, Noah whispered to his brother across the darkness, "Ethan, do you think Grandma will come home tomorrow?" "Yes," Ethan replied firmly. "Dad has the videos of Sophia using his computer, and we have our recordings. Grandma is innocent, and tomorrow everyone will know it." "I miss her," Noah said softly. "Me too, but tomorrow will help save her." The grandfather clock in the Sterling mansion struck 12 times, marking midnight. The sound echoed through the house as a new day began, the day of Dorothy's vindication. In the surveillance van, Marcus, Derek, and Olivia continued their vigil, watching Sophia's every move. In her bed at Derek's guest house, Dorothy said a final prayer for justice. In their room, the twins drifted to sleep with their alarms set for 5 o'clock. And in the master bedroom, Sophia lay awake, unaware that her time was running out. The pieces were in place. The truth was ready to emerge. In just a few hours, they would all face each other in court, and the real story would finally be told. The first light of dawn crept through the windows of the Sterling mansion. Sophia woke with a start, checking her phone, 4:30 in the morning. She glanced at Marcus, who appeared to be sleeping deeply. Moving silently, she dressed in a business suit and grabbed her packed suitcase. "Just a few more minutes and I'm free," she whispered to herself, easing the bedroom door closed. In their room, the twins had been awake since 5 o'clock. They dressed quickly and grabbed their backpacks. "Ready?" Ethan asked, zipping his jacket. Noah nodded, clutching his iPad. "I'm scared, but we have to help Grandma." They crept down the hallway past Mrs. Winter's room where soft snoring could be heard, and down the back stairs that led to the garden door. The security system beeped softly as they opened it. Sophia was in the kitchen collecting her hidden cash from behind a loose tile when she heard the security alert on her phone. She frowned, checking the app that showed which door had been opened. "The garden door? At this hour?" she muttered. As Sophia hurried toward the garage with her suitcase, police cruisers silently pulled into the driveway, their lights off. Detective Laura Simmons directed her officers to surround the house. the twins made it to the end of the driveway where Ms. Patterson waited in her blue sedan. "Boys, over here," she called softly. They ran to her car, climbing into the back seat. "Did anyone see you leave?" Ms. Patterson asked. "No," Ethan said, "but the door made a beeping sound. I called your father right after you called me," Ms. Patterson told them. "He knows you're with me." As they drove away, Sophia opened the garage door, pulling her suitcase toward her car. The moment she stepped outside, floodlights illuminated the driveway. "Sophia Chen," Detective Simmons called through a megaphone. "This is the police." "You are surrounded. Put down your bags and place your hands above your head." Sophia froze, then made a desperate dash toward her car. Two officers intercepted her before she reached the door. "Let me go!" she screamed as they handcuffed her. "I haven't done anything wrong. We have a warrant for your arrest for multiple counts of fraud, theft, and evidence tampering," Detective Simmons informed her, approaching with the document. At that moment, Marcus's car screeched into the driveway. He jumped out, phone in hand. "The twins are gone!" he shouted, then stopped short, seeing Sophia in handcuffs. "What's happening?" "Mr. Sterling," Detective Simmons said, "we're executing the arrest warrant for Miss Chen. Did you say your sons are missing?" "They're not in their beds," Marcus said, his voice tight with panic. "I just got home from Derek's and they're gone." His phone rang. "Hello? Miss Patterson? Thank God. They're with you?" "Yes, we'll meet you at the courthouse." Relief washed over his face as he turned to Detective Simmons. "The twins are safe. Their teacher has them. They're on their way to the courthouse with evidence they collected against Sophia." "Smart kids," Detective Simmons commented. "We'll bring Miss Chen there too. The judge is expecting us at 9 o'clock. In Derek's guest house, Dorothy woke early after barely sleeping. She dressed carefully in the navy blue dress Janet had helped her choose, her hands trembling slightly as she fastened her mother's pearl earrings. "Today is the day," Janet said, entering with a cup of tea. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous," Dorothy admitted. "What if something goes wrong?" "The evidence is solid," Janet assured her. "Tom Murphy is ready. Marcus is supporting you. It's going to work out." Derek drove Dorothy and Janet to the Fairview County Courthouse, arriving at 8:30. Tom Murphy met them at the entrance, looking confident in a crisp suit. "Good news," he said, guiding them to a small conference room. "Judge Harmon has reviewed our emergency motion. He's going to address it first thing this morning." "What does that mean?" Dorothy asked. "It means the charges against you will likely be dismissed before we even begin the trial," Murphy explained. "But the judge wants formal statements in open court." "Will Marcus be here?" Dorothy asked. "Yes," Murphy confirmed. "He's bringing all the evidence of Sophia's fraud." At precisely 9 o'clock, Dorothy entered courtroom 3. Unlike her preliminary hearing, the room was packed with spectators. She saw reporters with notepads and local residents who had followed the case in the newspapers. "All rise for the Honorable Judge William Harmon," the bailiff announced. Judge Harmon, a distinguished man with silver hair and piercing eyes, took his seat at the bench. "Be seated. We're here in the case of Commonwealth versus Washington on charges of grand theft. Before we proceed with trial, I understand the prosecution has a motion." District Attorney Victoria Reynolds stood. "Yes, Your Honor. Based on new evidence that has come to light, the Commonwealth moves to dismiss all charges against Dorothy Washington with prejudice." A murmur ran through the courtroom. "I've reviewed the emergency motion and supporting evidence," Judge Harmon said. "Before ruling, I'd like to hear from the defendant and the alleged victim." At that moment, the courtroom doors burst open. Ethan and Noah ran down the center aisle, followed by Ms. Patterson, who tried unsuccessfully to slow them down. "We have proof, too!" Noah shouted, holding up their iPad. The courtroom erupted in surprised chatter. Judge Harmon banged his gavel. "Order! Who are these children?" Tom Murphy stood quickly. "Your Honor, these are Ethan and Noah Sterling, the defendant's grandsons and the sons of Marcus Sterling, the alleged victim in this case. We collected evidence," Ethan announced proudly. "Sophia is the real thief. We have recordings." Judge Harmon, though clearly surprised, handled the situation with remarkable calm. "Young men, approach the bench, please." The twins walked forward, their small frames barely visible above the wooden rail separating the gallery from the court proceedings. "Your Honor," Ms. Patterson said, joining them, "I'm Rachel Patterson, the boys' teacher. They've been gathering evidence at home for weeks. They called me this morning to bring them here." "Is that true?" Judge Harmon asked the twins. "Yes, sir," Ethan replied. "We recorded Sophia on the phone talking about stealing money, and we took pictures of her secret phone with text messages about running away." Noah held up the iPad. "It's all in here." The courtroom doors opened again, and Marcus entered, followed by officers escorting a handcuffed Sophia. "Perfect timing," Judge Harmon remarked dryly. "Mr. Sterling, I believe these young men belong to you?" "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus said, approaching the bench. "My sons have been collecting evidence on their own initiative. I was unaware of their plan to come to court today, but I support their efforts to help their grandmother." "And you, sir, are no longer claiming that Mrs. Washington stole from you?" "No, Your Honor. I was misled by false evidence created by Sophia Chen. Dorothy is completely innocent. Sophia struggled against the officers holding her. This is ridiculous. They're all lying." "Ms. Chen, you will have your opportunity to speak," Judge Harmon warned. "For now, I suggest you remain silent." The judge reviewed the evidence on the twins' iPad, his expression growing more serious with each recording and photograph. He then examined the security footage Marcus provided, showing Sophia wearing Dorothy's robe while accessing his computer. After nearly 30 minutes of review, Judge Harmon looked up. "District Attorney Reynolds, given this evidence, what is the Commonwealth's position?" "The Commonwealth moves to dismiss all charges against Dorothy Washington with prejudice, and we are filing multiple felony charges against Sophia Chen for fraud, theft, evidence tampering, and false testimony." Judge Harmon nodded. "Motion granted. Mrs. Washington, all charges against you are dismissed with prejudice, meaning they cannot be refiled. On behalf of this court, I offer an apology for your wrongful detention." The handcuffs were removed from Dorothy's wrists. She sat still for a moment, barely able to believe what was happening. "Grandma!" The twins broke free from their father and ran to Dorothy, throwing their arms around her. She embraced them, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. "My brave boys," she whispered. "I've missed you so much." As Sophia was led away for booking, she glared at Dorothy one final time. The cold rage in her eyes met only quiet dignity in return. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered on the steps, cameras flashing as the family reunited. Dorothy knelt to hug her grandsons properly, while Marcus stood beside them, his hand on Dorothy's shoulder. "Mrs. Washington, how does it feel to be exonerated?" a reporter called out. Before Dorothy could answer, she noticed a group of women watching from across the street. Brenda, Janet, and several others she had met in detention. Their presence was a powerful reminder that while her nightmare had ended, countless others remained caught in a system that didn't always protect the innocent. Dorothy watched as Brenda waved from across the street. She excused herself from the reporters and walked toward her friends from detention. "You did it," Brenda said, hugging Dorothy tightly. "I knew you would." "We all did," Janet added. "You're the first success story from our support group." "I couldn't have survived without you both," Dorothy said. "What happens now?" "Sophia goes to jail. You go home," Brenda said simply. Dorothy glanced back at Marcus and the twins, who were talking to Detective Simmons. "I'm not sure where home is anymore." 3 days later, Marcus invited Dorothy to dinner at Rosetta's, a quiet restaurant downtown. Dorothy wore a simple dress and arrived precisely at 6 o'clock, finding Marcus already waiting at a corner table. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said as she sat down. "The boys aren't with you?" Dorothy asked. "They're with Miss Patterson tonight. I wanted us to talk privately." After they ordered, Marcus cleared his throat. "Dorothy, I want you to come back to the house. The boys miss you terribly." Dorothy folded her hands on the table. I miss them too, but I'm not sure returning to the same arrangement is right for either of us. What do you mean? Before all this happened, I was living in your home as somewhere between family and household staff, Dorothy explained. I took care of the twins, cooked, cleaned. I was grateful for the roof over my head, but it wasn't equal, Marcus finished. I never meant to make you feel like an employee rather than family. I know, Dorothy said gently, but if I come back, things need to be different. I need my own space and clear boundaries. Whatever you need, Marcus promised. The boys need you. I need you. The next morning, Dorothy and Marcus met with investigators at the Fairview County Police Department. Detective Simmons spread files across the conference table. Sophia Chen isn't even her real name, Simmons explained. She was born Linda Park in San Francisco. She's used at least 3 different identities in the past decade. How many others did she steal from? Dorothy asked. At least 4 other wealthy men across the country, Simmons replied, showing photographs of middle-aged men in expensive suits. Her pattern was always the same: romance the target, isolate him from family, create conflict with anyone who might notice financial discrepancies, then steal and disappear. How much money are we talking about? Marcus asked. Nearly $3 million total, Simmons said. Some of it may be recoverable from the offshore accounts we've frozen, but much of it is gone. Marcus shook his head. I still can't believe I fell for her act. Don't blame yourself, Detective Simmons said. She was a professional con artist. You're not her first victim, just the first one who caught her. At Oak Ridge Elementary, the twins sat in Dr. Andrea Morales' office for their weekly therapy session. Colorful art supplies covered the table between them. Today, I'd like you to draw your feelings about what happened, Dr. Morales suggested. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Ethan grabbed a black marker and began drawing Sophia as a cartoon villain with sharp teeth and claws. Noah chose blue and green crayons, drawing their family holding hands with Dorothy in the center. Can you tell me about your drawings? Dr. Morales asked when they finished. This is Sophia, Ethan explained, pointing to his picture. She was mean and scary, even when she pretended to be nice. And yours, Noah? This is our family now, Noah said quietly. With Grandma back where she belongs. How do you feel about everything that happened? Dr. Morales asked. Proud that we helped Grandma, Ethan said immediately. Scared, Noah admitted. What if someone else tries to hurt our family? That's a very normal feeling, Dr. Morales assured him. When scary things happen, it's natural to worry they might happen again. 1 week later, Dorothy was shopping at Wilson's Market when the memories ambushed her. The sound of metal clanking against metal, just a shopping cart hitting a shelf, suddenly transported her back to detention. The sound of cell doors closing, the handcuffs around her wrists. She gripped a shelf for support, her breathing rapid and shallow. Dorothy, are you okay? It was Margaret Lewis, her oldest friend. Just a moment of remembering, Dorothy managed to say. Let's get you some air, Margaret suggested, guiding her outside. That evening, Janet called Dorothy at Derek's guest house where she was still staying. There's a support group meeting tomorrow night, Janet said. Women who were wrongfully accused. I think it might help you. I don't know, Dorothy hesitated. My situation was unusual. The details are different, but the trauma is the same, Janet insisted. Just try one meeting. The next evening, Dorothy joined 8 women in a community center conference room. Some had been wrongfully imprisoned for months, others for years. As Dorothy shared her story, she felt a weight lifting. The hardest part is learning to trust again, said Elena, a woman in her 50s who had served 2 years for a crime her nephew committed. Not just trusting others, but trusting yourself. Dorothy nodded. I second-guess everything now. Every decision, every interaction. That gets better with time, Elena promised. And with support. Meanwhile, the media attention around the case continued to grow. Local news crews interviewed the twins at school, dubbing them Oak Ridge's little detectives. The attention made Marcus uncomfortable. "They're just children," he told Ms. Patterson after finding reporters waiting outside the school. "They need normalcy, not cameras in their faces." "I've been keeping them inside during recess," Ms. Patterson assured him. "This will die down eventually." At Sterling Innovations, Marcus called an emergency board meeting to explain the situation and implement new financial security protocols. "Moving forward, all major transactions will require dual authorization," he announced, "and we're bringing in external auditors to review our entire financial structure." Derek Thompson, sitting beside him, added, "We've already recovered most of the money Sophia attempted to steal from the company. The personal funds are another matter." On a crisp Saturday morning, Dorothy and Marcus met in Sarah's old garden behind the main house. The space had become overgrown in recent months, but purple crocuses still pushed through the soil. "Sarah loved this garden," Dorothy said, touching a leaf gently. "She spent hours here with the boys when they were babies." "I know I failed her," Marcus said suddenly. "And I failed you." Dorothy turned to face him. "How so?" "After Sarah died, I buried myself in work instead of grieving properly. I made you both grandmother and housekeeper to the boys because it was easier than being fully present as their father." "You were in pain," Dorothy said. "That's no excuse," Marcus insisted. "Then when Sophia came along, I chose a stranger over family. I wanted to believe her because it was easier than facing my responsibilities. We all make mistakes, Marcus. This was more than a mistake. My actions put you in jail, Dorothy." His voice broke. "How can you ever forgive that?" "I'm still working on it," Dorothy admitted honestly. "I'm not angry anymore, but trust takes time to rebuild." Marcus nodded. "I understand. I want to make things right, whatever that looks like." "I've been thinking about that," Dorothy said. "I love the twins, and I want to be part of their daily lives. But I also need independence." "What are you suggesting?" "The guest house on the property. The old gardener's cottage. It could be renovated into a proper living space for me. I'd be close enough to help with the boys, but have my own home." Marcus considered this. "That could work. We could design it however you want." The following week, they visited Sarah's grave together. They stood in silence before the simple headstone, both lost in their own thoughts. "Sarah would have handled all this so much better than I did," Marcus finally said. "Sarah would want us to move forward," Dorothy replied, "to create something good from all this pain." As they walked back to the car, Dorothy's phone rang. The caller ID showed Judge Harmon's office. "Mrs. Washington? This is Elaine Brooks, Judge Harmon's clerk. The judge would like to meet with you privately next week. He's forming a citizens advisory board to review how the county handles court-appointed defense resources and evidence verification procedures. He thinks your experience could be valuable in creating systemic change." Dorothy sat across from Judge William Harmon in his wood-paneled chambers. 6 months had passed since that life-changing day in court, and now she found herself back in the courthouse for a very different reason. "Mrs. Washington, thank you for your contributions to the Citizens Advisory Board," Judge Harmon said, reviewing a folder of documents. "Your suggestions about evidence verification protocols have been particularly valuable." "I'm just grateful something positive could come from my experience," Dorothy replied. "The County Council votes next week on implementing the new guidelines for court-appointed attorneys," Judge Harmon continued. "If approved, every defendant will receive proper resources regardless of their financial situation." As Dorothy left the courthouse, she felt a sense of accomplishment. The past 6 months had brought many changes, not just to the county's legal system, but to her personal life as well. She drove her new blue sedan toward home, not Derek's guest house, but her own renovated cottage on the Sterling property. Marcus had transformed the old gardener's residence into a beautiful space designed with Dorothy's input. The cottage featured wide windows that looked out on a garden reminiscent of her childhood home in Georgia, a modern kitchen where she could bake with the twins, and a small office where she worked on her court reform initiatives. Dorothy parked beside the main house and checked her watch. 3:30 in the afternoon. The twins would be home from school soon. She walked through her garden, pausing to pick a few tomatoes that were perfectly ripe. Inside the main house, she found Marcus in the kitchen attempting to make cookies with limited success. "I think I did something wrong," he admitted, showing her a tray of flat, overly crisp discs. Dorothy smiled. "You probably forgot the baking powder." "The boys wanted to surprise you with cookies after their baseball practice," Marcus explained, "but I'm clearly not the baker in the family." "Let me help," Dorothy offered, reaching for a clean bowl. "They'll be home in 20 minutes." As they worked together to prepare a new batch, Dorothy noticed how different Marcus seemed from the workaholic who had once barely acknowledged her presence. Now he left the office by 4 o'clock most days, coached the twins' baseball team on Wednesdays, and joined them for dinner every night. "How was your meeting with Judge Harmon?" Marcus asked, carefully measuring flour. "Productive," Dorothy replied. "The new protocols are going to the county council for a vote next week. The Sarah Sterling Foundation will support whatever resources are needed," Marcus promised. The foundation, named after his late wife, was another positive change. Marcus had established it 3 months ago to provide legal aid to wrongfully accused elders and support services for families affected by the justice system. The front door burst open as Ethan and Noah arrived home from school, still wearing their Oak Ridge Elementary baseball uniforms. "Grandma! Dad! We won our game! Ethan announced, dropping his backpack on the floor. "Coach Patterson said I was the best catcher ever," Noah added, his previous shyness now replaced with confidence. Dorothy hugged them both. "I'm so proud of you. Now wash your hands if you want to help with these cookies." As the twins scrubbed their hands at the sink, Dorothy marveled at their transformation. The trauma of the previous year had left its mark, but with Dr. Morales' help, they had processed their experiences in healthy ways. Their detective skills had even inspired a new program at school. "Ms. Patterson says our observation club is getting 15 new members next week," Ethan said, carefully dropping chocolate chips into the cookie dough. The club, developed with Miss Patterson's help, taught children about observation skills and speaking up against injustice. The twins' story served as a powerful example of how even children could recognize truth and fight for it. Later that evening, as Dorothy returned to her cottage, her phone rang. It was Brenda Garcia. "Are we still on for tomorrow?" Brenda asked. "Absolutely," Dorothy confirmed. "I'll pick you up at 11 o'clock. Their monthly visits to Fairview County Detention Center had become an important ritual. Dorothy read to inmates while Brenda helped women prepare for job interviews upon release. With Marcus's support, Dorothy had also started a re-entry program specifically for grandmothers, helping them reconnect with grandchildren after incarceration. The next morning, Dorothy met Janet for coffee before their detention center visit. "I have news," Janet announced. "The class action lawsuit for wrongfully accused women has been certified. The court recognized the pattern of inadequate representation." "That's wonderful," Dorothy said. "How many women are included?" 23 so far, Janet replied. "Your testimony was crucial in getting the judge to take the case seriously." When they arrived at the detention center, the atmosphere was different from Dorothy's time there. The staff was more respectful, and new programs filled the common areas with purposeful activity. "Mrs. Washington," Warden Phillips greeted her. "Your reading group is waiting in the library." In a small room filled with donated books, 8 women in orange jumpsuits sat in a circle. Dorothy recognized the lonely, frightened look in their eyes. She had once worn the same expression. "Today we're continuing Their Eyes Were Watching God," Dorothy announced, opening the book. "Who remembers where we left off last month?" After the reading session, Dorothy helped 2 women complete paperwork for the re-entry program. One woman, Teresa, was especially anxious about seeing her grandchildren again. "It's been 16 months, Teresa said, her hands trembling. What if they don't remember me? Children remember love, Dorothy assured her, and will help you rebuild those connections step by step. That evening, Marcus hosted a small dinner party at the main house. Derek Thompson attended with his new girlfriend, along with Tom Murphy and his wife. The twins were allowed to join for dessert, proudly serving the cookies they had helped bake. To Dorothy, Marcus proposed a toast. Who taught us all about resilience and forgiveness? Dorothy smiled, though the compliment made her uncomfortable. To family, she countered, and second chances. After the guests departed and the twins went to bed, Dorothy and Marcus sat on the patio overlooking both houses, the main mansion and her cottage nearby. Are you happy with this arrangement? Marcus asked. It's been 6 months now. Very happy, Dorothy assured him. I have my independence, but I'm still close to the boys. It's the perfect balance. I keep thinking about what Sarah would say about all this, Marcus admitted. She'd be proud of how you've changed, Dorothy said. Putting the boys first, building the foundation, finding purpose beyond work. Marcus nodded. I couldn't have done it without you. We helped each other, Dorothy replied simply. The following morning, Dorothy worked in her garden, the twins helping her harvest vegetables for dinner. The sun warmed their shoulders as they carefully picked green beans and dug up potatoes. Grandma, look at this huge potato! Noah exclaimed, holding up his dirty prize. That's the king of all potatoes, Dorothy agreed, adding it to their basket. Grandma, Ethan asked, suddenly serious, are you ever scared that something bad will happen again? Like with Sophia? Dorothy set down her trowel and considered the question carefully. Sometimes I still have moments of fear, she admitted, but they're less frequent now. How did you stop being afraid? Noah asked. I didn't completely stop, Dorothy explained. I just learned that fear doesn't have to control me. And I remembered that even in the darkest times there were people who believed in me and helped me, like you two brave boys. We'll always believe in you, Ethan promised. And I'll always believe in you, Dorothy replied, hugging them both despite their dirty hands. From the patio, Marcus watched the three of them working together. He thought about how close he had come to losing this precious family. His phone buzzed with a message from his assistant about an urgent business matter, but for the first time in his life, Marcus simply turned the phone off and set it aside. Some things were more important than work emergencies. As the one-year anniversary of Dorothy's vindication approached, plans were made for a special garden party. Not a celebration of the painful past, but a recognition of how far they had all come. Sometimes, Dorothy told the twins as they continued harvesting vegetables, the truth takes time to grow, just like these plants. But if you nurture it and never give up, it always finds its way into the light. Marcus watched from the patio, finally understanding that his late wife's mother had given his children something more valuable than all his wealth, the courage to stand up for what's right, no matter how powerful the opposition. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.